Little was known about Tim Hunter until the Skytech Megacorp laboratories got their hands on him. We know neither his place of birth or his country of origin because his parents died when he was just a child. According to the Skytech Megacorp files, they were a couple of drug addicts, but we have no further information about them. We do know that after their deaths. Tim was raised by his grandmother, but we're not sure of this information. It's quite possible that it was just a simple old woman who took him in to look after him. But all this information is just speculation. Tim's life changed completely when the dramatic crisis of 2842 emerged. The rising cost of high-tech components. As the cost of high-tech components soared, the global economy suffered a major economic crisis, which caused inflation to rise around the world. The economies of every country in the world were severely affected, but as usual, it was the economies of the poorest countries that were hardest hit. The vast majority of poor countries could not withstand the shock and became puppet states, with many war criminals managing to take power by force through endless fratricidal civil wars. In the end, many multinationals took advantage of the crisis to enrich themselves through the chaos and in turn subjugated these same warlords who had become the system's new watchdogs. It was in this difficult context that Tim Hunter created his legend. Tim had no use for traditional moral concepts. For him, good and evil were just abstract concepts, created for people with weak minds in order to control them more easily. The only thing that interested Tim was money, because for him it was the only thing that made sense in this world. For Tim, money was everything. It defined your place in society, your rank, your power, but above all, whether your life had value or not. Money had filled the monstrous void that consumed Tim. Money was Tim's only comfort in his chaotic life. When young Tim saw a lot of violence on the streets due to the consequences of the 2842 crisis, he didn't hesitate long before joining a street gang, as they were the only ones to offer a minimum of security as well as significant financial compensation. Over the years, Tim became quite simply the best soldier in his gang. No one could match his infiltration skills or his use of the Kalashnikov. His gang bosses knew full well that if they offered Hunter a big bonus at the end of his mission, he'd finish it before the others. He would finish his mission before the deadline and with no problems to report. Hunter's ability to carry out his missions brilliantly enabled his gang to take control of their country. But unfortunately for them, it was at this very moment that Tim Hunter chose to leave his gang life behind to become a mercenary paid handsomely by multinationals. His old gang had nothing more to offer him. His huge multinationals were prepared to overpay Tim for far less complicated missions. Tim took on contracts to assassinate major political figures as well as controversial figures on the media scene. One day, Tim's new life changed dramatically when he saw an incredible ad for Skytech Megacorp. Skytech Megacorp were looking for experienced fighters to perform basic psychological and scientific tests. The price offered for this kind of test was just hallucinating. It was more than all the money Tim had made in his last 10 years in his gang. What Tim didn't know was the ad was a trick by Skytech Megacorp scientists to get Tim to donate his body to science. The real aim of the Skytech Megacorp scientists was to create super soldiers with the ability to go invisible. Tim was unknowingly trapped in the Skytech Megacorp laboratories. It was during these same tests that he met a certain ghost who had also been tricked. Alas, their memories were erased during their time in the Skytech Megacorp labs. Unfortunately, due to ego problems between scientists, the project was cancelled before our patients could obtain the permanent invisibility capability. Skytech Megacorp released the rare patients who had survived the tests into the world for collect some data. They're not forgetting to rewrite their memories so that their test subjects remained docile mercenaries. Tim Hunter, alias Stalker, was as free as a bird, thinking he'd spent all his savings to acquire the power of invisibility. Apart from the one thing that filled his abandoned child's heart, to make as much money as possible. That's why Stalker chose to offer his services to the renegades to replenish his secret fortune and satisfy his thirst for combat.